In our first episode, we will talk about how to be more interesting and how this quiet superpower can change everything. This audio recording includes subtitles so you can follow along more intentionally and absorb the ideas at your own pace. Have you ever walked into a room and felt invisible? Like the air moved around everyone else but stalled at your feet? People glance, nod, smile, but the conversations never linger and the spotlight never turns your way. It's not that you're boring. You've got stories, thoughts, dreams, but somehow the spark never catches. You're not alone. Most people, deep down, are terrified of being forgettable, like they're just background noise in someone else's highlight reel. And maybe you've tried to fix it. Read books on small talk, mimicked confident body language, memorized clever quotes to drop at parties, but it didn't change much. Why? Here's a possibility you haven't considered. Being interesting has less to do with saying the right things and more to do with living in a way that draws people in. Naturally, effortlessly. This isn't a guide full of empty cliches or forced charisma hacks. Instead, what follows is a journey through curiosity, vulnerability, and the kind of energy that makes people want to orbit around you, not because you demand it, but because they feel something when you speak. Let's explore that shift, because the difference between forgettable and fascinating is smaller than you think. Here are 6 actual ways on how to become interesting. 1. Be curious and ask lots of questions. We tend to think that interesting people are the ones talking, weaving colorful tales and lighting up the room with their wit. But often, the most magnetic person isn't the loudest. It's the one who listens like they care, the one whose questions feel like doors you didn't know were waiting to be opened. Curiosity isn't a personality trait reserved for philosophers or journalists. It's a quiet superpower, one that changes how people see you. When you ask someone a thoughtful question, something subtle happens. They feel seen. And in a world where most people feel overlooked, that moment is unforgettable. But don't fake it. People can smell surface-level questions from a mile away. The goal isn't to interrogate. It's to explore. Be curious about what lights people up. Ask about their obsessions, their side projects, their weird weekend rituals. When someone talks about what they love, they become more alive. And when you're the one who helped unlock that moment, you become more memorable by default. It doesn't end there. Being curious also means feeding your own inner world. Read books you wouldn't normally touch. Watch documentaries on topics you know nothing about. Ask why a little more often, even when no one's watching. When your mind is alive, your presence becomes undeniable. 2. Be open to new experiences and meeting new people. There's a strange comfort in the familiar. Same routines, same people, same conversations. It feels safe, but after a while, safe starts to feel stale. And deep down, that quiet craving for more begins to gnaw at you. Not more noise or attention, but more life. Becoming more interesting isn't about crafting an image. It's about collecting moments that shape you. And most of those moments don't happen inside your comfort zone. Say yes to things you usually avoid. The awkward dinner invite. The weird event that sounds not really your thing. The conversation with the person you almost skipped over. These aren't just social obligations. They're invitations to reshape your inner world. Every new experience, no matter how small, adds another thread to your story. And the more threads you gather, the more vibrant your presence becomes. But here's the catch. It won't always feel natural. Sometimes it'll feel forced or uncomfortable. And that's okay. You're not supposed to become someone else. You're just making space for different parts of yourself to stretch. Interesting people aren't fearless. They just get tired of living the same day on repeat. So they step out. Not because they're ready, but because they're curious about who they might become on the other side. 3. Be a good storyteller. You've probably met someone like this before. They're not the smartest in the room, not the loudest, not even the most experienced, but when they speak, people lean in, not because of what they're saying, but how they're saying it. That's the power of storytelling. And it's often what separates someone who's fine from someone unforgettable. Being a good storyteller isn't about having a wild, Netflix-worthy life. It's about learning how to shape a moment so others can feel it. The tension, the humor, the small detail that brings the whole thing alive. Great stories aren't just told, they're relived. Here's what most people get wrong. They clutter their stories with too much, too many facts, too much setup, too much pressure to impress. But stories don't need to be perfect. They need to be felt. Focus less on being polished and more on being present in the telling. The little quirks in how you describe things, those are the gold. And don't be afraid to laugh at yourself. Self-aware stories are disarming. They make you human. And people connect with human, not flawless. When you tell stories in a way that invites people in, you don't have to fight for attention. It finds you naturally. 4. Talk about things that interest you, even if they're not mainstream. There's a moment right before you speak where doubt creeps in. Will they think this is weird? Is this too niche? Maybe I should just say something safer. So you tuck it away. You nod. You go with the flow. You shrink a little, barely noticeable, but still enough to dim the light. That's the tragedy of trying to be interesting by chasing what's popular. It works briefly, but it's exhausting, forgettable, and worst of all, it's not you. Here's the truth most people miss. Passion is contagious, even when the subject is obscure. The way your eyes light up when you talk about medieval history, vintage cameras, underground hip-hop, or obscure anime. That's the spark. That's the real magnetism. You don't have to force others to like what you like. You just have to enjoy it out loud. And when you do, something interesting happens. You create space for others to do the same. People crave authenticity more than agreement. They want to be around someone who's alive, not just agreeable. The people who truly resonate with you, friends, partners, collaborators, they won't find you unless you're visible. So stop sanding down your edges. They're the most interesting part. 5. Be yourself, quirks and all. It's tempting, isn't it? The idea of crafting a persona that fits perfectly into the social expectations around you. You tweak this, smooth out that, just a little more to blend in. And maybe it works for a while. But here's the thing. Pretending to be someone else is like wearing a mask all day. Eventually, it gets heavy, and people can feel the weight, even if they don't say it aloud. The truth is, the most interesting people don't try to be perfect. They embrace their quirks because their quirks are what make them real, what makes them relatable, what makes them unforgettable. It's hard to admit, but trying to be liked all the time strips you of your charm. People don't connect with a version of you that's edited for public consumption. They connect with the person who's willing to show up as they truly are, raw, unfiltered, and a little messy. Think about the people who have had the biggest impact on your life. Chances are they weren't the ones who always said the right things. They were the ones who were real, with all their flaws, contradictions, and unexpected interests. And somehow, that realness made them magnetic. So, take off the mask. Let people see the things you love, even if they're a little weird. Your quirks are your superpower. 6. Share your thoughts and opinions, honestly and openly. How often do you hold back your thoughts just to avoid ruffling feathers? It's easy, right? Just nod along, smile, and keep your opinions to yourself. After all, who wants to cause conflict? Who wants to be the person who stands out? But here's the quiet reality. When you're too afraid to speak your mind, you slowly fade into the background. People notice it. They notice when someone only agrees, never challenges, never offers a different perspective. It's not that people want conflict. It's that they want authenticity. They want to know that what you say matters, that it's yours. Honesty doesn't mean you have to voice every fleeting opinion. It doesn't mean becoming a contrarian just for the sake of it. But when it matters, when you feel something deeply, share it, even if it's uncomfortable, even if you think others might not agree. The most interesting people aren't always the ones with the loudest voices. They're the ones whose words carry weight because they're honest. Their opinions aren't driven by fear of judgment, but by a true sense of self. And that's magnetic. So, speak up, not to win approval, but because your voice is a part of the conversation that no one else can offer. This is my first ever episode on this channel, and please let me know your thoughts if it has changed some part of your life at the end. By the way, if you want to level up in life, don't forget to show some love by hitting the like and subscribe button.